There may be several reasons as to why you don't trust your intuition. Perhaps you're afraid of being wrong. Maybe you used your intuition at some point in your life to help you make an important decision. And when you listened to your gut instinct, when you followed your heart, the results were disastrous. Maybe you grew up in an environment where it was frowned upon to listen to your intuition or to explore your psychic and spiritual abilities. Or maybe you're afraid that if you tune into your intuition, you're going to see or hear something scary. Now, what I found is that this fear of using our intuition or this inability to trust our intuition really boils down to three main points. And the first one is the fear of uncertainty. As human beings, we love things to be certain. We hate being wrong because it makes us feel inadequate or worthless, or it can even cause us to feel embarrassed and ashamed. For example, if you're giving a psychic reading to a friend, even if this reading is just for fun, and as you are pulling your cards or using your own intuition to tune into her and explain to her what it is that you're sensing, seeing, and feeling, if she tells you that you're wrong about everything, or if she comes back to you 5 months later just to yell at you and tell you how wrong you were with your predictions, you're probably going to feel a little embarrassed. You're going to feel cut down to size, and nobody likes to feel that way. It makes us feel very vulnerable. And so, of course, we want our intuition to be 100% certain. But the problem is that nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. You know, when you think about it, you can study for a test and you can take a mock test and get everything 100% correct. But then you go in for the actual test and all of a sudden, the answers that you thought you knew, the information that you had been studying just the night before doesn't seem to help you when you take the actual test. And so while you studied, while you did everything you were supposed to do, maybe you didn't pass, or maybe you didn't pass with the grade that you thought you would. Maybe you listened to the conventional wisdom of the world that said, go to college, get a stable job, get married, and these will be the foundations to having a happy, fulfilled, and prosperous life. But you went to college and you didn't like it, and you found out you put you in so much debt. You got a job that you didn't like. You worked your butt off only to get fired or laid off or demoted, or you got stuck and were unable to climb the corporate ladder towards a dream and a position you actually liked. And maybe you got married and it didn't work out. So you listened to conventional wisdom. You did what you told was right. You followed the formula, and guess what? It didn't work out. Sometimes you can do all the right things, but things still don't work out the way that you want them to. And unfortunately, that's just a part of life. So when it comes to using our intuition, it's really important that we get past this fear of being wrong, because the truth is our intuition is rarely wrong. What can happen is when we are tuning into something like a future event, or we get a sensation that something's off with someone, or maybe something bad's about to happen or something good's about to happen, we get this sense that something's on its way and that thing never comes. Doesn't necessarily mean that we were wrong. It means that somewhere along the way, something changed, something got tweaked. And if you had been anticipating that something bad was about to happen, you might have started praying about that event. You may have started calling in your guides and your angels. You may have started asking for protection. You may have started asking that this bad thing doesn't happen. And guess what? It didn't. So was your intuition wrong at that point, or was your energy so big and your intention so strong and so focused that your energy alone, along with the help of your guides and your angels, changed the course of these events? It's important to remember that people have free will. So if I were to give a psychic reading to somebody and I were to tell them they were on the right path to having whatever it is that they desire, and they hear that and they get excited, well, they may stop putting in the amount of effort that they were putting in beforehand. And now they'll come back to me a few months later and say, hey, you were wrong. This thing that you said was going to happen didn't take place. And my first question is, well, what did you change? Or did somebody else get involved with this thing that you are trying to create? So people have free will. So when you tune into something and it doesn't take place, doesn't necessarily mean you were wrong. It means something changed. Maybe people start making different decisions. They start acting differently after they had their reading. Who knows what it is, but something changed. The second thing that can happen is that we may interpret our intuition incorrectly. And that actually brings us to the second point, which is we don't trust our intuition because we really don't understand its language. Listening to your intuition is kind of this elusive experience, right? Because our intuition speaks to all of us in very different ways. Our intuition can speak to us as a sensation in our body, a sensation that we can't quite name or put a finger on, like we can't really explain it. It can come to us by putting thoughts in our head, almost like words we hear, but in our consciousness and our imagination. And we can also get images and visions in our minds as well. It's not something that we physically see or physically hear. That's why I say it's more elusive, because this information is delivered to us within the realm of our consciousness, within our imagination. And that's why we start questioning, is this my intuition or is it my imagination? But here's something to keep in mind. They're both usually one and the same, because your imagination and your intuition take place within the realm of your consciousness, and your intuition will utilize your imagination to get messages to you. So try not to get too hung up on that in the future. Now, that said, our intuition does have its own language, and if it is delivering physical sensations to us along with a voice in our head or a vision in our mind, and we're trying to put it all together, or maybe we're getting only one of the three, we may not know what it's trying to say to us, and we may interpret the message and the information incorrectly. In fact, a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, back when I was a teenager, I ended up going on a missions trip with my church's youth group. And we went to an orphanage in Mexico to help them basically make repairs to the orphanage. So we were helping with the plumbing. We were helping them to build an additional wing. Why anyone thought it was a good idea for a group of teenagers to go help with these things, I'll never know. But anyway, we were there to help this orphanage in Mexico, and plenty of the children were living in that orphanage. So one day I was helping to paint one of the rooms, and this sweet little boy comes running up to me, and he has this big smile on his face, and he is talking my ear off, but he's speaking in Spanish. And the problem is, I don't speak Spanish. I had no idea what this little boy was saying. Like, my ability to speak Spanish is limited to "Donde estás, baños?" And I don't even think I said that right. And so he came up and he was talking to me, and I was trying to say, like, "Despacio, por favor," which I think means "slow down, please." I think I got that right. Who knows? And he'd slow down what he was saying, but I still had no idea what message this little boy was trying to communicate with me. I knew he was happy about something. I knew he was excited to tell me something, but that's all I knew. Our intuition can be the same way. It can come at us from nowhere. Like that little boy was running up to me. Our intuition can run up to us and deliver some type of message, and we're like, I have no idea what you're trying to say. And so when you don't understand your own intuition, when you don't understand its language, it makes sense that you wouldn't trust it. Because why would we trust something we don't understand? Why would we put faith in a message that doesn't make sense to us? So by developing your intuition and learning how it communicates and learning how to interpret its messages, it will become more trustworthy because you are helping it to become stronger, right? You are building a new relationship with your intuition that is built on communication. And yes, this is just like building a relationship with a friend. So one of the reasons it can be challenging to learn how to work with your intuition is because it involves learning how to interpret your intuition, learning its language. And then, of course, you're also learning how to build a relationship with it. So it's kind of like when we meet a new friend, we're excited about that new friend and we want to learn all about him or her. It's kind of the same thing with our intuition. We have to learn how our intuition speaks. We have to learn what its strength is, what its weakness is. And that's something that comes in time as you learn to develop it more. The third reason as to why you don't trust your intuition is because deep down inside, you don't trust yourself. Think about the different goals that you set for yourself and you didn't accomplish. Think about the routine you tried to set in place or the promise you made to your place, but you didn't follow through. Maybe they were promises like, I'm going to drink half a gallon of water every day, or I'm going to walk or jog 30 minutes every day. This is the year where I'm going to lose weight. This is the year where I'm going to be more present with my friends. This is the year I'm going to beat depression. Whatever it is, you made different promises to yourself and you were able to go after it for a while, but after some time, you lost speed. So if you promised yourself you were going to lose weight and you were going to be good with your diet and you were going to be strict and you were going to cut out sugar, you may have done good with that for a while, and then one day you hit a wall and you found yourself sitting in front of the TV with a bag of Doritos, and you never completely recovered from that. You just started to think about how horrible you are, how lazy you are, how you lack discipline, why weren't you able to just stick to this diet? It's so simple, right? And so there's decisions that we make in our own life where we lose trust and validation in ourselves. The other reason we don't trust ourselves is because of the messages we receive when we're little. Because when we are children, we look up to the adults around us. We look up to our parents. We look up to our aunts and our uncles. We look up to our teachers, and we look up to these people as if they have all the answers, as if they have an insight into life that is unavailable to us when we're children. And that's partly correct. Well, what can happen is when we're children, we may get excited about something that we saw in our imagination, or maybe our psychic abilities started to open up. And when we went to the adults in our lives to tell them about these things, they shut us down. You may have been a gifted medium when you were a child and you told your mom or your dad or another adult in your life about an experience you had with a ghost, with a spirit. And maybe you were told, oh, that's just in your imagination, or you didn't really see anything. Who knows what the conversation was, but you may have been told that your experience wasn't real, that thing didn't happen. And maybe you were adamant that it did, but as time went on, you learned that you weren't going to be accepted and loved and validated if you continue to talk to your parents or talk to the adults in your life about these experiences that you were having. So you may have learned to question those experiences at a young age, or you may have started to feel embarrassed of them or ashamed, or you may have begun to shut them down because no one was believing you, right? And even though you weren't a liar, you felt as if you were one. Imposter syndrome began to settle in. And maybe you didn't have that experience as a child. Maybe you didn't have these psychic gifts that were blooming. Maybe you were taught to doubt yourself in other ways. Perhaps there was a dream or a goal that you wanted to go after. And when you told your mom or your dad or your teacher about this goal that you had or this career aspiration that you wanted to attain, when you opened up your heart with all of the love and joy and vulnerability that we usually have as kids and teenagers, and you told them what it was you wanted to do for a living, or you told them what your goal was, they may have said, oh, sweetie, that sounds fantastic, but don't you think it would be better if you went to college and got a degree in business management instead? Or, I know that you love to write and you're not that good of a writer though. I mean, your grammar sucks, you're dyslexic, whatever it is. And while that sounds harsh, the reality is that many of us did grow up with parents who were very critical and who didn't have that faith and belief in us that we really needed them to have so that we could feel nurtured and safe and have the excitement to go down the road that was calling us, right? Because we all have our own journeys in life. And unfortunately, some people try to talk us out of our journey and onto another one. And when that happens, yes, we lose faith in ourselves because we're putting our faith in someone else, right? We believe that someone else may know what's best for us, especially when we're children, especially when it comes to the adults that we admire and that we love. Because when we're children, we want those adults to love us back. We want them to be proud of us. We want to make them smile and make them beam. And again, we believe that they know better than we do. Because as we are growing up, it's the adults in our lives that take care of us, that provide guidance and advice for us. They're our caretakers when we're little. So when the adults in our lives don't believe in us when we're children, we grow up with that voice of criticism. We grow up doubting ourselves and doubting our experiences. And that's when we can lose faith and trust in ourselves, because we wanted to go after this goal so badly and we believed in it so much and it was really calling us. And then someone in our lives told us that we couldn't do it or we shouldn't do it, that it was foolish for us to even consider going after this one thing. Or they may have tried to compromise with us that if we were going to go after this one thing, we should at least go after this too. And if you're someone who is goal-oriented, you know that sometimes you can't go after two goals at once. You have to go after one at a time sometimes, depending on what it is. But when we go to the adults in our lives and we're sharing with them not just a goal, but what we believe to be our life purpose, because we're all different. I believe all of us know at a young age what our life purpose is. If we go to the adults in our lives and they kind of talk us out of it, that can be very hurtful. And so we go through life feeling lost because we didn't get the permission that we wanted and needed to be able to go after that thing that we so desired. And as we're adults, we really need to learn how to give ourselves permission to go after this spiritual goal, to learn to start enhancing and strengthening our intuition and trusting it. We don't need the permission of those adults anymore because we're the adults now. So we need to learn how to give ourselves permission to go after those goals, to contemplate new ideas, to get curious about different philosophical beliefs that may have been frowned upon when we were children. And so we need to give ourselves that permission in that space to grow. And that's how we start trusting ourselves, because we're no longer misplacing our faith in other people. We have to start placing faith in ourselves. And we can do that by setting small goals for ourselves that we start to follow through with. We have to start telling ourselves that we matter, that we're enough. In fact, you matter and you are enough. And so I want you to really think about what you might do, how you might behave if you were trying to earn your own trust. Would you make it a habit to get up a little bit earlier every morning so that you could meditate, so that you could pray, so that you could read a book that you've been meaning to read? What might you do if you wanted to start trusting yourself? Would you change your self-talk? You probably would. Most of us have very critical voices in our minds. And that's not even your mind, and that's definitely not your intuition. That is the voice of the critics that have been with you for a long time. Those are the critics in your past. And those could be your parents, they can be ex-lovers, they can be teachers, they can be friends. There's a wide variety, there's a wide range of different places where we can pick up these negative voices from. And so know that your intuition is never going to speak to you in a way that is belittling, in a way that is mean. Your intuition will always speak to you with respect. So if you have a voice in your head that's calling you stupid or calling you a dummy, that's not your intuition. That's not your higher self. That's not your guides. That's not your angels. In fact, if it is your guides, you need to get new guides, because that's not okay. Your intuition, your higher self, your angels will speak to you in a way that gets your attention, but it's never going to be in a way that's derogatory. It will always be in a way that is at the very least forward. And if it is subtle, again, there's going to be some respect there, right? So they're never going to call you names. They're not going to be mean. Your intuition is not mean. Your intuition is looking out for you. In fact, your fear is also looking out for you as well. So you don't have to get too caught up in wondering, is this fear? Is this intuition? Just trust all of the sensations that are coming to you. Your fear is a part of you. Your ego is a part of you. Your intuition is a part of you as well. And so what's really important for you to start doing is to acknowledging that you are having these experiences. You don't have to sit there and contemplate what something means when you get an intuitive hit. For example, if you are someone who has some psychic or empathic abilities, and by empathic, I mean that you're able to sense what other people are feeling, you may go to the grocery store and you may start to feel very unsettled. You may start to feel anxiety and you start wondering to yourself, oh my gosh, is this me? Is this not me? Is this coming from someone else? And then you happen to look up and you see a lady who is in the same aisle as you, and you wonder, okay, are these anxious feelings actually coming from her? So here's what I want you to do when these type of sensations happen is I want you to stop and I want you to just pause. And I want you to take a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out and just be present in that experience. You don't have to sit there and wonder where this emotion is coming from, because when you do that, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. Just acknowledge like, I feel anxious right now. I feel stressed right now. I feel a little afraid right now. Acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, because if you start questioning it, like, am I really feeling anxious? Like, what do I have to be stressed over? Is this my emotion? Is this someone else's emotions? That's how doubt starts to creep in. And you're not trusting your experience. Whether that emotion is yours or belongs to someone else at that point is a moot point. It doesn't matter if it's yours or someone else's. What does matter is you're the one feeling it right now. You're the one who's having those sensations, and you're the one that has to decide how you are going to move through that experience. So just be present with it and acknowledge, I feel stressed, I feel anxious, I feel whatever it is, and just breathe into it and ask your guides or your angels for help, or maybe start repeating a mantra. I am safe, I am sound, all is well. I am safe, I am sound, all is well. Whatever works for you, start repeating that, and you'll find that the anxiety will hopefully start to slip away and you'll be fine, right? That's another way you can start trusting yourself, is being responsible for the experiences that you have. But I want you to also acknowledge the experiences that you're having too, because even as adults, we may have a psychic experience that we begin to doubt. In fact, it happens all the time. My email is constantly flooded with people who have some type of psychic experience and they don't trust it. And they email me for validation. They want me to tell them that they're not crazy. So they'll message me and they'll say, I had the unfortunate experience of having, someone very close to me pass away a couple years ago. And ever since then, I might feel, they might report that they see lights flicker, or they'll see shadows now, or whatever the case is. They'll come to me with these experiences that they're having, and oftentimes they are physical sensations. They're physical experiences, meaning they're physically seeing something with their physical eyes, and they're hearing something with their physical ears. And they will message me asking, is this really happening? I just need validation that I'm not crazy. Well, I can't give you that validation because I don't know what it is that you're seeing. I don't know what it is that you're experiencing. However, I do believe you're experiencing something. What it is, I don't know. But I do believe that you're seeing something. I do believe that you're hearing something, whether or not it's a past loved one or electrical issue. I don't know. That I can't validate. But I would urge you to validate and believe your own experiences. You don't need to get that validation from someone else. Trust what you're experiencing is what you're experiencing, and you don't have to sit there and question it. So just start building trust and acceptance in your experiences. You don't have to reach out to someone else for their validation or for their take on it. For now, just get clear and just be focused on your experiences and know that what you're experiencing is correct, right? If you're seeing things out of the corner of your eye, then you're seeing things out of the corner of your eye. You can say to yourself, I just saw this thing out of the corner of my eye. And look, I'm guilty of this too. In fact, a few months ago, when I moved into my new home, I actually saw the reflection of a man in a bedroom window, and it was the back of him, and I saw him walking, and I kind of did a double take, like, did I really just see that? Because I knew there was no one else around. There was no man in my house or around my house that would have caused that reflection, and yet there it was. And so I did initially catch myself doubting the experience, and then I was like, no. My eyes are good. I see things that are there, and so I had to just stop and pause for a second and be like, no, I really saw that. I did see a man's reflection in the window. And I stopped doubting myself. And so that's what I want you to do. I want you to just acknowledge that you're having this experience. You don't have to know who the man in the window was. I still don't know who it was. But when you have those experiences, you don't have to get all the answers to them. You just have to acknowledge that you had that experience, and that's awesome, and that's cool, and that's a sign that your intuition is opening up, or it's a sign that there are spirits around you that are wanting to make contact, or that there are spirits around you that are comfortable enough with showing themselves, and that's pretty cool too, right? So make peace with your intuition, make peace with what you're experiencing, and stop questioning yourself so much. Because when you're able to trust yourself is when you are able to trust your intuition, especially once you start enhancing it and learning the language of your own intuition. That's when real magic can start to unfold. When you trust your intuition and when your intuition becomes more fine-tuned, you can use it to make better decisions for your own life, and you can give better advice to the people that come into your life and they ask for help with whatever it is that they're going through. Now, because you're a spiritual person who loves to communicate with angels, guides, and divine source, it's so important for you to trust yourself, to trust your experiences, and to trust your intuition, because your intuition is how God speaks to you. Your intuition is how your angels, your guides, and your ancestors and loved ones on the other side all speak to you. It's through that state of consciousness that they are able to make space, make their presence known, and communicate with you. And if you don't trust yourself, if you don't trust your experiences, how are you going to trust the messages that they are sending to you? And I'm sure a few of you watching this have been guilty of that, because you'll be in meditation, you'll be visualizing, you'll be praying to your angels, you'll be talking to someone on the other side, and a message will come through to you. And then you get out of the meditation or you get out of the prayer, you stop journaling. And a few moments later, maybe a couple days later, you start asking yourself if that experience really happened. You start asking yourself if that was really the voice of your angels, if you really made contact with your loved one, or if it was all just in your head. And how very frustrating that must be for those spirits that are wanting to communicate with us, for those angels that are wrapping us in their arms and pouring their energy over us and getting those messages to us. How frustrating it must be for them to watch us doubt and question the very holy, sacred moment that we had with them, that we invited them into, no less. Think about that for a second. It's no different than your friend calling you up, asking for advice, you giving it to them, or at the very least having a conversation with them. And then 3 days later, calling your friend again and your friend saying, oh gosh, did we really have that conversation? Did you really say XYZ to me? And you're like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, we really did have this conversation 3 days ago. Why are you questioning it? It's got to be similar to our loved ones on the other side, right? It's got to be similar for those divine spirits that are connecting with us. But because those divine spirits love us so much and they care about us and they are infinitely kind and wise and patient, and they've been working with, mankind for quite a while. They're probably used to this on some sense. So they're willing to keep that line of communication open. They're willing to repeat themselves if necessary. Although I've had a couple guides who, when I connected with them, they were like, we already gave you the answer. We're not going over this with you again. I was like, okay. And so, but they will continue to work with you though. But it's really up to us to be responsible for the messages that we receive. If we are going to open up the doors and open up the communication to the other side, whether the other side is loved ones in heaven, God, divine source, angels, whoever that is, we need to be willing and accepting of the messages that come through because we're the ones who set that invitation out, right? And really, it serves us more than it serves them for us to listen and for us to welcome in the advice, the discernment, the wisdom, and the knowledge that they give us, right? That's in our best interest because they do want us to fulfill our purpose here. They do want us to have our best lives, whatever that may mean for you. They have our back. They want us to be able to succeed in life. And when we doubt our messages, when we doubt our intuition, when we don't trust ourselves, which means we start to distrust the experiences we have, we distrust the communication that we have, then that puts us at a point where we don't know what to do. We don't know what action to take. We don't know what to believe, even though Spirit came through and told us what to do, gave us the information that we needed. And remember, if you ever need clarification on something that your guide said to you, or an angel or loved one or divine source, if you ever have questions, if you ever stop and think, I do know that I had this conversation and I remember them saying that, but I'm a little unsure as to whether or not I'm interpreting that correctly, tell them that. Ask for clarification and they will give it to you. They will answer that request. So over the next few weeks, I will be releasing different videos that will teach you how to enhance, strengthen, and embrace your intuition. And if that's something that's of interest to you, be sure that you're subscribed to this channel and also hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I release new videos in the future. Also, if you are an intuitive person and you would like some form of spiritual mentoring, maybe you would like to work with me one-on-one to enhance your intuition. Maybe you're unsure of what your gifts are. I would be so happy to work with you on those matters. So just check out my website at guidingechoes.com and click on the section that says work with me and look into the spiritual mentoring services that I offer. I also offer psychic readings and psychic mediumship readings. So if that's something you're interested in, again, be sure to check out my website at guidingechoes.com to learn more about that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.